Dual clutch? 6-speed manual? Sequential? Gated? What is your transmission of choice? I'm personally an Eaton Fuller 18-speed kind of guy. Just put a goddamn semi-truck transmission in my Honda Civic, and I'll just Fast and Furious my way to victory, baby. Anyways, roll the intro. The Lamborghini Murcielago LP. As a kid, while I thought this was a really cool car, I never would have imagined so many people would be coming forward in the future to say that this car is one of the greatest, if not the greatest car of all time. People who have driven Koenigsegg's, Carrera GTs, you know, not the McLaren F1, not the Ferrari F40, none of that. The Murcielago is the pinnacle for so many people. And apparently, its position on the podium gets even more solidified if it's equipped with a gated 6-speed transmission. Apparently, that experience, I've never driven one, is penultimate. There's apparently just something about it. And it's just something we haven't seen in a car since it got discontinued. Well, the boys over at EAG, the #1 place to go to have your classic supercar converted to manual, have converted a Lamborghini Murcielago from E-Gear, automatic, to a 6-speed gated manual, which for those of you who don't know, can save you a ton of money if a manual Mercy is what you truly want. The conversion is about $45,000. But think about it. You know, I hopped onto Auto Trader, and a 2007 Murcielago LP640 automatic is about $300,000 with 22,000 miles. Now, when I look for a manual, well, there's only one, and it's for sale at Royalty Exotic Cars. So I'm pretty sure it's actually the old DDE Murcielago. Pretty sure that's Damon's car. Well, it's listed for $850,000. I'm kind of surprised that there aren't more out there being listed. I remember there being quite a few. I guess just they all got bought or taken off the market or something. Well, either way, it's a lot cheaper to buy an E-Gear car because $300,000 and, you know, convert it, and then you add $50,000 to what the car has costed you, what you put into it. That's still a lot less than $800,000. I thought it was going to be something more like $500,000 or $600,000. But, you know, either way, it's cheaper, obviously. It's kind of like those manual transmission conversions that you do with like the E46 M3s and the E60 M5s. Because, you know, the E-Gear Murcielago is an automatic, robotic, manual transmission that is just actuated by either hydraulics or something else. You get rid of all the hydraulic mechanisms and you add the hardware for the manual version. I think you have to do an ECU tune as well. And then you just have a manual car. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's $50,000 later, and someone had to do the R&D. You're saving a lot of money versus buying a factory one. And also, I just checked, just out of curiosity, to see what the price of an SV Murcielago is, a 670-4, and it's over $1 million. God dang, boys. I knew it would be high, but I didn't know it would be that high. I thought maybe an automatic SV would be, you know, $700,000, $800,000, something like that. That's what they were like maybe a year or two ago, I think. Not over $1 million. $1 million? Good grief, what would a manual one go for? All right, moving on to the more relatable stuff. Kind of, I guess. I mean, GTRs are abhorrently expensive now, so they're not really relatable anymore. The R34 GTR especially is just a rich person car now. Not really an enthusiast car as much anymore. But I wanted to ask you, if you were partnered up with a company like HTG, the people who do all the cool aftermarket gearbox swap stuff and have like all the GCUs, what would you do if you had to choose between a 7-speed dual clutch or an 8-speed ZF transmission to put into your GTR or GTT, doesn't matter. I imagine a lot of you would go for the dual clutch, and I can understand why. Well, before you do make that choice, check this out. Observe the shifts of this 8-speed equipped R33. and tell me what you think.
8 HP 17.
I did not expect that first gear change to be that spicy. Was that a fireball pop when I heard him do that upshift? Am I missing something? I thought the ZF was like a torque converted kind of transmission. How can there even be excess fuel to be burned when shifting? Is the timing being cut for the shifts? I need to learn more about how fueling works on these kinds of gearboxes. Man's shifting the GTR like a Honda driver. Jokes aside, maybe I'm hearing just a rev limiter or something? It sounds insane though, and there really isn't that much of a delay between him pulling the lever, or lever, I can't remember which one I prefer to say, and the gear change actually happening. That's kind of more what I was expecting the shift to sound like. Just buttery, silky smooth.
Guys, what is this? This is... Mate, I love this. I love this. What a twist.
I just wish the people would show off the downshifts more. I really want to hear what these RB engines sound like being downshifted like a supercar. I want to hear that rev matching, that throttle blip. I want to hear what it sounds like on an RB. All right, so now it's time for the dual clutch. Yes, that's right. What you just saw there was a supercar-style launch control being used in a DCT-equipped Skyline. And I gotta wonder, how durable are these DCTs? Like, can you just launch them over and over and over again and not have to worry about breaking things anywhere near as much as you would with, you know, when you're launching a manual? Because that's always been kind of the concern, I think. You know, doing races from a dig, it's pretty hard on your car. At least that's what people tell me when they say they'd rather roll race. Not as harsh on your car. I feel like a DCT could help a lot of people win races from a dig, or at least between the lights. I mean, the launch control and the lightning fast shifts could make up for a horsepower deficit between you and the other car. I'm surprised no one has named their car Kettle Corn yet if they have a popcorn tune. But hey, this is a 700 horsepower DCT equipped R33. Again, it just makes sense, and thanks to the folks at HDG, it's no longer ridiculously complicated to do swaps like this. Like, it used to be so tricky if you wanted to do something like put a dual clutch in an E46 M3 or some other car. You had to do all this insanely complicated custom wiring. Now this just gives the technology to everybody, which again, someone had to do the R&D, and it's so cool. Smoking tires on a dyno is wild. Okay, a gentleman over at Original Auto, who has done a few DCT swaps already, wanted me to watch this Roads Untraveled video of their DCT swapped Lexus GS, mainly because I was curious how aggressive you could make a DCT shift. Like, does it have to be buttery smooth all the time? Or can you make it more clunky and maybe a little slower so that there's more drama in the driving experience? Maybe even dump some extra fuel between gear changes if you can do that. Like, I don't know how it works, because don't DCTs kind of pre-select gears? There's no actual cut? I'm not sure. I don't know if that's even possible, but it would be sick if you could do it. Again, I don't know how it works. Those gear changes are lightning fast. And also, I can't get this build idea out of my head, but I really want to take an old 4Runner and 3UZ swap it. That could be a fun budget build one day. But I also think it'd be kind of cool to put like a ZF 8-speed in there. See what that does for like the fuel economy. You know, if you're going 65 miles an hour with a 3UZ in 8th, would that help? Kind of interesting. I think it'd be kind of neat to find out. For science. don't know why, but I never thought to turbo one of these engines. Well, now thanks to companies like HTG, theoretically, you could make any car shift like that. Bro, imagine, I mean, no one would do this, but imagine making like a Murcielago shift like that. Say you don't want the E-gear, but you don't want the manual. What if you just put a 7-speed dual clutch into the car? Really change the character of the car. It might ruin it, actually. I think Mercies deserve to be manual, so just scratch that. I think there's a pop or a bang on upshift, but I'm not sure, honestly.
Of a modern dual clutch.
Are you guys starting to figure out which one you would pick? 7-speed dual clutch or 8-speed ZF? Who would have thought that this would be an option? Drivetrain swaps, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, dual clutches, 8 speeds in 90s tuner cars? Wild out here, man. The only thing I don't like about some of these DCT swaps is that people sometimes just include the OEM BMW shift knob, which I imagine they do just for simplicity, but it feels wrong. It looks weird. It looks out of place. However, HTG, I believe, has a CAN keypad for controlling the functions of the gearbox, combined with a sequential shifter. All that just makes much more sense, and it looks a lot cooler, in my honest opinion. Also, again, I'm a little scared to admit this, but being able to throw your crazy supercar or just fast street car into automatic and chill when you're in traffic does sound kind of nice. Like being able to just drive in your R34, it looks super cool, and you just want to chill and not have to think and just focus on maintaining good following distance in traffic. Pop it into auto. You're not doing anything adventurous. Just bump some tunes or whatever. Just chill, whatever the situation is. But then when you're really ready to get on it, step on it and go, you can give it the sauce in manual, hell, or leave it automatic and have just perfect shifts. And when you have room or some curvy roads, I bet those dual clutch downshifts on an RB26 in a canyon would feel pretty crisp.